Tonight, at least 16 people have been killed by just devastating flooding in Kentucky. That number, unfortunately, is expected to rise, perhaps even double. Flash floods wiped out entire neighborhoods, some houses completely carried away by the raging floodwaters. Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear said the state has never, in its history, seen anything like this. Evan McMorris-Santoro is out front in Hazard, Kentucky, one of the worst hit areas. You've been touring the damage there. Tell us what it looks like.
Well, Jim, one of the most amazing things about flash floods is how quickly they can change everything in your life. And here, where I am right now, it's a flea market site here in Hazard is a perfect example of that. Just a couple hours ago when we got here, there was nothing here. But then some locals put out some calls on social media saying we need to gather donations, gather things for people who've lost everything in these floods. And first came the water. Now you can see there's some clothing, furniture, toys, and we just learned that tomorrow there'll be prepaid cell phones. The building blocks of life people are trying to put back together after they lost everything in these floods. And the problem is, officials say this tragedy might still be ongoing.
This is going to be a real challenge with such a large area hit to get good unaccounted for numbers.
Homes destroyed, roads washed out, rescuers working around the clock as the governor of Kentucky warns the death toll from another round of catastrophic flooding could more than double in the coming days. The latest heartbreaking discovery, the bodies of at least 6 children recovered from the floodwaters. Rushing waters swept homes off their foundation and pushed cars into piles. Judy Butler and her husband made it out of their house just in time.
We got out, we pulled out here to the road, and about 10 minutes later we looked out and it went from the back of the fence to the carport.
The fast rising floodwaters forcing many people to evacuate and causing hundreds of water rescues across the state.
Well, I'm going to lose everything I have, for sure. But it's better than losing my life.
Beverly Doherty spent hours in chest-high water, trying to keep her dog afloat.
Finally, I just was hanging on to a fern rope, and I thought, I've got to do it, I've got to swim. But it was super swift. I've never swum in water like that.
The Kentucky National Guard is also assisting in rescue efforts, lifting people from their homes, as some buildings were left almost entirely submerged. Officials say the storm caught many people by surprise.
There was no warning. People sleep in mobile homes near this water that water had never been up to before in 50 years. You know, they've lived there and never worried about it, so you never really thought about it, and caught in their sleep and just washed away. It's a tragedy.
And with power and cell phone service out in many of the hardest hit areas, help is hard to come by.
There's a big swath of the county that's totally isolated. The state highways are just totally, they're gone.
One mayor says it's hard to even know where to begin.
We're so overwhelmed, we don't really know what to ask for.
And the worst is far from over. Governor Beshear urging residents to have a safety plan in place.
Looks like it's going to rain a lot Monday, maybe Tuesday.
So Jim, as you hear, this is not over. And here in Hazard, people are trying to put pieces back together of their lives when their lives might get hit again by these floodwaters. And it affects everyone. Volunteers here, people who are here helping other people get their stuff, are people who also lost everything. Jim?
And like you said, it happens in an instant. Evan McMorris-Santoro, thanks so much. Out front now, Peter Youmans. He is the pastor of Davidson Baptist Church in Hazard, Kentucky, which was destroyed, unfortunately, by the floodwaters. And Pastor, we appreciate you coming on. We know you got a lot on your plate in your community. We understand the flooding came so quickly, there wasn't much chance to prepare. Tell us how it happened and how you survived.
Well, that night we knew there was rains, but that's nothing unusual, of course, and we had no idea it was going to be so serious. And my grandchildren actually were staying overnight. And we have a newer church, and then my parsonage, and then the older church, which has been there since '56. And about midnight, it started raining so hard that it was clearly coming up into the parking lot. And then it got up into our house. That's when I knew it was really bad, because it's never been in our house before. It was about a foot. And so then after that, I couldn't see our church. I knew that it was bad, but our church has had minor flooding before. But the bigger church in our house had never gotten it in those buildings. And so around 4 o'clock, my son, who was very concerned about his children, had been calling and said, well, how is it outside? I looked outside, and a car went by because there was no lights, and it's very dark where we live. And I realized that the whole church building, 2-story building, was completely gone.
Goodness.
And when that happened, it also wiped out a house next door and a garage. I mean, all of the water just wiped it all out. There's multiple homes.
Have all those people been accounted for? The people in those homes? People in your parish?
In our area, as far as I know, yes, but not in the entire area. There have been and I don't know if it's accurate or not, over 20 deaths. And so it's pretty tragic. Several of our church members who would normally be helping us try to fix things are taking care of their own problems right now. And some of them are in as bad or worse shape than we're in. So we're just thankful that the house was not destroyed with my grandchildren in it.
Goodness, yeah. Did you get enough warning to get out of there?
No, we did not know that it was going to be up that fast. I was told that there was like 11 inches of rain in 24 hours, and most of that came within just a few hours. And the creek in front of our house is small. It's 8 or 10 feet wide and normally less than 6 inches deep. And it was moving trailers down the creek, and also just wiping out. Again, our church was cement. The first floor was cement, and it completely wiped everything out. It's all that you see is scraps of cement.
Listen, I'm so sorry you had to go through this. I'm certainly glad you're safe and your family's safe, but we wish you the very best as you try to recover from all this. Take care of yourselves.
Thank you very much.
Tough people. They're out front next. Another win for Joe Biden today, but will